Bones are amazing things. They hold us up. They support us. They make us strong. But bones have other uses. In the past, bones were thrown by diviners, seeking out the mysteries of the future. Now the bones are cubes, made of plastic or resin, but they still reveal things to us. As they fall from our fingers and rattle across the table, the story becomes clear. Welcome to Bone Throwers Theater, an RPG actual play podcast.
Hello and welcome back to Bone Throwers Theater, to this final commentary episode of Elements of War. My name is Jeremy, and for the last time, I have been playing Julian Illix.
My name is Aaron, and I have now said goodbye to Sam Feluge.
This is Johnny, formerly known as Chime North.
This is Ellie, peacing out as Archi.
This is Jeff, ending his experience with Jerr Lan.
And I'm Jordan, and I wasn't the one throwing all the problems tonight, but I am the game master. But first off, I want to give you all a round of applause.
Everybody.
And 2 character points.
As a reward for those of you continuing with the campaigns, you get to build a brand new character.
For you players at home,
you
get 10 bonus character points.
Welcome to the last session of a Bone Throwers Theater campaign, where everything's made up and the points don't matter.
Everything is made up, but you know what?
Doubly.
I honestly cannot believe that this game is over. I remember.
I know. Oh my gosh.
When we started this game, I was looking at some of our influences before Ellie joined the group. When we did the microscope, we had a list of influences that we thought would guide our microscope session and then the campaign at large in terms of tone and feel and everything like that. Aaron chose the Powder Mage series because it has a very structured hierarchy in it. Jeff said the Codex Alera series, specifically because he wanted elementals in it.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy said the television show Heroes because he was looking for extraordinary abilities. Mm-hmm. Johnny said the movie Blade Runner because he wanted androids. And I said the Milkweed Triptych because I wanted a demonic Cold War. And you know what? I honestly think that nails the tone of what we went for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And another thing that wasn't even an influence, but I was talking with Jeff a little bit, messaging online. There's another TV show out there where I think the tone of the group, we kind of captured that. I don't know if anybody has ever watched the show Travelers.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
The dialogue and the tone and cohesivity of the group is like very similar to the group that we created, where everybody's worked toward a single goal, but everybody else has also this side thing that's going on. Yeah, and sometimes none of the other group knows about the other person's side thing.
There's side knowledge.
But even though everybody's working together kind of thing. So
yeah.
It was actually something that, a bit of dialogue that Jerr said that made me think, I was like, oh, that sounds like this one character in this TV show. And ironically, it's the old guy trapped in a young guy's body.
Yep.
There's a lot to unpack.
There's a lot to discuss. We've had a lot of amazing moments in this show. Going back to season 1 when the dome cracked very early. That was
I love how
was that like the 3rd or 4th episode?
That was still all the things that we put in early. Nothing ever just like completely fizzled out. Right. Like the dome crack even came back into play as something to contend with in the finale.
I think it's also telling that I feel like every escalation, the dome was more damaged.
Yeah.
Even to the point, it's almost like a parallel between the dome starting to fall apart and the way we talk about the world continued to burn is how Jordan finally ended it. And so, as the dome is falling, it's a parallel to the state of the world that this dome is done for.
Well, it was a parallel to the state of the economy and structure of the city itself.
Mm-hmm.
That first explosion set everyone into panic, and from there it just started spiraling down and down. And by the time we left, and the crack was getting bigger, people were losing it.
Mm-hmm.
The city's
And we-
essentially destroyed at this point.
Especially since the government was infiltrated from the inside, essentially.
Yeah.
So there was no structure of command to try getting control back to
And
settle
even
things.
the government's like way that they used to actually run the country, I mean, was totally obliterated when went through and he set the whole command center on fire.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, the government really had no control to do anything. That's why at one point during the last few episodes, I made the comment, I was like, wow, I'm surprised that there's even
Power.
systems to allow alarms to go off at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And somebody that is going to set off those alarms as if somebody's going to come help because alarms are going off.
So it's actually very similar to how, in most like end time movies, there's always that one missile silo where the soldiers were living, taking care of something, and they just stay there until, that they haven't been relieved of duty, and so they'll be there for 15, 20 years.
Well, everything else doing south around them.
Yeah, so there's still those people, even here, they're there setting off the sirens as they're told to do, people who are going through their job, which is kind of interesting.
There's a great novella about that called We Shall Sing a Song into the Deep. And I think I've mentioned it to you before. It's about a monastery of monks who live on a nuclear submarine after a nuclear world war.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they are literally going through the motions of keeping the ship running because they believe that they are the last holdout, basically, of world government.
Well, there's actually a real life story of a Japanese man who was hiding and fighting from the shadows for a good
like 30, 40 years after World War II.
Yeah, the war had ended and he was still fighting 21 years later before someone stopped him and said, the war's been over. Because he was so bound up in his duty to fight his side of the war.
That's a very interesting analogy to where Shade was at the end of the night.
Definitely.
Yep. I'm incredibly surprised we only had one death out of our party.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm surprised too. There was a moment in the sewer, which we'll talk about something else in the sewer, where I was like, "Oh, Julian's dead."
Yeah, I totally thought Julian was dead.
After rolling a 77 and not succeeding, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what the
I
heck?"
totally thought Hurricane was going to kill Julian.
Yeah.
But
saved by the power of friendship.
Friendship.
And that became a major theme because I feel like in some ways the campaign has been about learning how to trust each other.
Despite our differences and despite our betrayals.
Despite differences in background, in personal beliefs, in...
Yeah, and I think Julian even said that to Sam at one point in that final scene, that he knows that everybody is different. Mm-hmm. He knows that not every... Well, the way Sam was intending it was that not every elemental can be killed the same way.
Right.
Yeah.
But Julian said, yeah, I know not everybody's the same. I know that not all elementals are the same. I know that all commons aren't the same. I know that all innates aren't the same.
Didn't you start with one of your beliefs early on was that all elementals were...
Yeah.
Yeah. And just over the course of with this group, that's something that Julian has been embracing more and more and more, is that...
He's also kind of been struggling with it the entire time.
Well, struggling with it, but in a way, as the struggle gets more intense, like just because he embraced that truth doesn't mean that struggle actually went away. It's the kind of thing where actually as he embraces that more, the fact that not every elemental is the same, not every common is the same, innate, as he embraces that, that actually intensifies the struggle because now there are more motives to contest and sort out, which if you think about that end scene, that's what Julian was stuck on. He knows that there are multiple groups of people that want this elemental dead, but why? What is the reason behind it? If it's a good enough reason, Julian's going to go along with it.
Yeah.
Even though, like, from his perspective, yeah, he knows that Shade wanted that elemental dead. He wasn't okay with the reason Shade wanted that elemental dead. But as long as there was an actual reason that he could get behind, all right, fine.
So if Shade had told you that this elemental would have been for humans in the coming war, how would that have...
He would have not supported it at all.
4 humans.
Yeah.
Which he
Because that
would
was
have been.
right. That was the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah.
He would have still went to Archie. Because that was the kicker right there.
Okay.
Is Julian has always been in the back of his mind, even in season 3, the end of season 3, where this idea of coming back to Consiglio came up.
Mm-hmm.
It was always, all right, Archie, why? What are we doing this for? So it was always going to come back to Archie as why. And to get back to the sewer thing with Archie again, and piggyback on Jordan's thing about how friendships have been a key thing for here, Julian in the sewer, realizing that there was that struggle still with the elemental and the programming, was trying to help the programming break through by focusing on the idea of friendship, knowing that that was something that the one thing Julian could really consider, that's Archie, is the desire for friendship.
Yeah.
That's Archie. So to
Yeah.
focus on that and have that be something that Julian was going to try and use to help that programming break through the elemental control at that point. I like how you put it as far as the visuals of it, what you could see. That Archie just kind of kept going, and then Julian was having this struggle with Huracan. And it looked pretty much like, oh gosh, Julian's going to die. This is it. This is it. But then out of the shadows comes friendship. And friendship is going to say, like,
You broke your promise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what you had asked. Are they going to be okay?
Yeah, my friend's going to be safe.
The whole friendship aspect progressed pretty naturally and pretty hesitantly throughout the entire series.
Mm-hmm.
Where we started off as acquaintances. Like, the first season, we barely saw each other in one group.
Right.
Except for twice. For, like, a minute each time.
In the first season, the longest any of us spent together was the time that it was it Jerr, Sam, and Julian in the sewer.
Yeah.
chasing Choler.
Yeah.
And then in season 2, we weren't just acquaintances, we were companions with a goal.
Yeah.
Season 3 deepened.
Season 3 deepened it to a
We learned to actually trust
We were-
each
a
other.
fellowship.
We were
It
forced
deepened-
to be fugitives together.
It deepened it into a fellowship, and then from there it became friendship in season 4 when we were on our way back. And we were training together. And we became brothers and sisters in arms, trying to further our goals as a group rather than as individuals.
So one of the things that I think is really interesting about that is Shade's goal from the beginning was to find this elemental and kill it, Red Nexnir's old elemental.
Mm-hmm.
And one of Shade's beliefs was that Sam is his best bet on accomplishing this goal. And the only reason I think that worked is because Sam was willing to create these bonds where Shade wouldn't have been.
Right.
And so Sam's ability to help build this friendship with other people, when the time would come, Jerr was willing to sacrifice himself. Julian was willing to convince because of that friendship and those bonds.
Yeah.
Right, but at the same time, I think Shade, in a way, even knew that it wasn't just Sam that was key to this, because there was that moment in season 2 where Sam's secret came out.
Oh, right.
And then Shade took over.
Mm-hmm.
And Shade actually saved the group. Because, I mean, somewhere in the back of my mind is like, yeah, Sam is the key, because Sam is going to be able to bring the right people together.
And that can
You know.
over there, that's Archie. That was probably the best one.
And see that tuft of hair up there? That's Julian. And also, getting back to Jordan's statement, friendship had been sort of this overarching thing for the actually entire campaign. If you take a look at it, we have built up the hype around all these big bads. Or the hype around the council, the hype around Huracan, the hype around Nidhogg, the hype around, like, specific people of the council.
Choler.
The Void,
Earth.
the Flame. And when it came down to it, especially here at the last sessions,
Surrender.
those oppositions, we just like swatted them away.
Except for
No,
Earth.
yeah.
Like,
The first time.
well, the first time. But this last set of like 3 episodes, those weren't the real opposition.
Mm-hmm.
It was breaking through the last hesitations of submitting to each other's friendship level and trust.
Yeah.
That was what needed to be broken through to reach that climax there at the end. Everything that we built up as a big bad, we broke through that pretty easily, but then there was still this last thing that needed to be overcome.
Yeah.
There at the end.
I like that.
And it was what our actual problem was, not like these people who had bad plans, right? It's like, how can we work together? We are greater than the sum of the parts.
Right. Yeah. And interesting to think, for the whole time we've been thinking of this huge macrocosm of a problem that, in all intents and purposes, was the focus of the entire campaign. It's like, oh, this evil empire that is going to bring down the entire world kind of thing. When we get to the end, it's really, we realize, yeah, that's still there. That's going to go on. But what we're really focusing on was this small little microcosm of these group of people and them actually getting somewhere as characters. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they staved off a disaster for all of humanity, I guess you could say. But the war still goes on.
Right.
My wife Jackie has a favorite quote, and I'm probably going to get it a little wrong here, but it's something like, do what you can with what you have where you are. You know? And I think that's really kind of like what you're saying. The big thrust of history is going to continue in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. But what can you do as a small group of friends to make the world a better place as much as you can?
Which is what I liked about the montage at the end of going through. And you got to see snippets of how this growth in these characters actually had a bigger impact on the world.
For good and ill.
That's what I was going to talk about the montage for Chime. Was, you know, at the end, after the group split up, Chime had nothing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we kind of talked about that. Chime, as a character...
He come to rely on the group.
Yes. Couldn't really have a sustained defense on his own.
Yeah. It was more than just that. It's, go back to like one of Chime's original goals was restore his family relationships.
Well, I messed that up.
His family was no more. His biological family. They were all dead.
And the new family that you had acquired.
And the new family just kind of just went away.
Huh.
So he was just lost.
It's super sad.
There was a lot of sadness at the end of the campaign. I'm not going to lie. If we're going to say that this was a happy ending, I think that we would be candy coating it.
I mean,
I think it's a fitting ending.
It's a very fitting ending.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, for Chime's family, I mean, there was actually still family that wasn't gone because obviously the Flame. We don't know what happened to the Flame, but the Flame decided to still personify North.
Yeah.
So
whether it was actually North
component of your father was still out there. We don't know what happened to it. Obviously, a component of, no matter how much the group tried to convince you otherwise, components of your brother was still out there, which is, I thought, was very interesting at the end, that it was Archie at the end that was calling Julian his brother.
Yeah.
Rather than Chime.
Yeah.
But again, that was one of the big relationships that was built.
Right.
This Archie and Julian relationship.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that that's who Archie would be reaching out to and trying to find.
I only had 3 things planned for tonight. First off, I could not plan for the beginning with Jerr. I had to come up with something. And I knew where I was going to go with that. I originally intended for Jerr to be completely kicked out of his own body and then go down and completely destroy the guardians underneath the city to let forth the evil elementals.
So, and that's where the new orders came, because Jeff put a wrench in your plan.
With an epic role and excellent monologue.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, Jeff.
But did he really? He didn't really put a wrench in my plans, because point B was I was going to mess with Archie's head.
Yeah.
I was actually planning to have somebody sending radio messages to Archie that nobody else could hear, kind of making Archie question whether or not he was still okay or if the root virus was flaring up again. I was not expecting Archie to be A-okay with jumping right into it. So I'm like, well,
Well, it was a really cool conflict point for the story.
Yeah.
So.
But that created this fantastic moment of jumping off the building.
Yeah.
It did.
That moment, oh my gosh, that moment was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
We were talking about that as soon as that episode ended, because it ended with us jumping off the building and not knowing what happened.
Yeah.
We talked about that as like, that is like an epic cliffhanger right there.
Yeah.
Where actually TV shows have done that, like at the end of a season, where somebody jumps off the building, or an island blows up, or and you don't know what happened.
Or
there.
the island disappears because the donkey wheel gets turned.
Or
Oh.
a main character is trapped in an exploding something or other.
Yeah.
And especially to come back to, all right, we're back next episode. We're not going to show you what happened, but we're going to jump to a flashback now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like playing with structure. What can I say?
Yeah. Yeah, that was great.
It makes for good storytelling. That's
great.
why TV shows do it all the time.
So, and we had so many moments of alluding to in play of what was still to come in the immediate history or future. Say history because we've
We know
done
don't
it.
have a
We've done it as far as the history of the world in Microscope.
Yeah.
But what
immediately after.
comes after, with Julian throwing that point in, like that he was willing to offer to try and broker a treaty, a pact between elementals and innates.
Yeah. Which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, it didn't work, obviously, and I was like, holy crap, if that doesn't work, what's going to?
Right.
So, but that's the thing that was in the Microscope, because that's where the war went from there, is that innates and elementals teamed up.
Yeah.
Yep. That's kind of what I wanted to happen with Jerr's elemental is because of this campaign, he learned to be a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And bonding with Redneck's Near's elemental unity, he gained that knowledge and added it to what he had learned himself from experience of learning how to lead. That's why Bond took that with him and turned it into leading the war.
I like that against the commons, is the way you put it. And then Aaron, what you did in the montage, you kind of took that point in your montage as it is now beyond the commons versus proxies, because you even talked about
hunting down the innates.
Innates. So I would imagine at some point the group that Sam was leading took out the group that Bond was leading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is interesting too, because we've always talked about back and forth, or postulated a little bit. Was Julian the one that started the chase, or was he the one that actually encourages the innates to team up with the proxies? And we kind of figured out through that montage and the way that last episode played out, it was neither.
Yeah.
Julian didn't do any of it.
He probably was a bit of a catalyst at the end of the second season.
Yes.
But other than that, he did not have anything to do with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I like even better.
Yeah, I do, especially because of the tidbit I tried to throw in there in the montage, is that Julian has somehow found that fire elemental that was bonded to his mother, that was bonded to Aelin, and has learned to have a somewhat relationship with, and they get along to some degree.
So it's like
that elemental is
it's like being bonded by proxy.
Yeah.
Right, but not because honestly,
it's actually
naturally,
a show that they show weekly on the national television channel, Bonded by Proxy, on the Council News Network.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, Julian has a somewhat bond with that elemental just by the fact that how he got his powers, and that elemental was bonded to his mother while she was pregnant with him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that elemental obviously has some influence in Julian's upbringing.
Right.
On his, development as a unborn fetus.
I feel like this is a really interesting point to be having a campaign wrap-up, too, because we have had a lot of changes in the group. I feel like bringing in a new player mid-campaign was a fantastic addition.
Yes. You were an awesome addition.
Thank you.
And as long as you're willing to put up with us,
Don't keep having him.
we'll keep inviting you over.
What do you say, they?
I appreciate that. I do have intentions of coming back, so.
But it's also kind of sad because, Jeff, you made a point to be back in town for this, but it's not an end of a friendship. But it is an end of an era.
Yeah. It's like a final stepping stone to moving on.
Yeah. Whenever somebody moves away from a group of friends, it's tough. But I feel like it's more than just having a friend move away. It's like having a brother move away in a lot of ways, especially for Johnny, right?
Yeah.
But
Knowledge, not about.
yeah, I really do. I do appreciate you being willing to come and be a part of this last couple episodes. And I don't know how else to say it, but whatever we do next, it's going to be different because you're not here.
Yep.
Mhm. I'll still be sure to pop in for a couple of one-shots here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I still, and I'm going to be adamant about this, I still want to come back and do a one-shot of the Return to Angel's Guard.
Oh,
2 years in the future, the group happens to come back together.
That'd be cool.
I still want to do that. That would be fun.
Ellie could play the queen.
I was thinking of, I was like, which queen? The fairy queen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The fake queen. Who is actually Grayson's mother.
Yeah.
Mother dear.
Yeah.
Jeremy played a small child in that campaign.
Yeah.
Yes, no
Not
child.
small.
He was
He was like-
17.
He was,
Yeah, but you were very short.
He was short.
small.
He's
Yeah.
short. He's like 5'3".
Oh, yeah, it's a little one.
Just a wee lad.
Aaron played a very literal, every word means exactly what it sounds like, monk.
Mm-hmm.
That was very fun.
and timing is everything.
Timing is everything.
So that would be fun to come back to
That would be
Yeah.
fun.
for a one shot.
That would be-
Because definitely if we come back to that, Demetrius needs to be there.
Yes.
Yes.
For Grayson's sake.
Yes.
Demetrius needs to be there.
I do have to say that, like, it's hard to pick a favorite character as a player that you've played sometimes, but as a GM, Jerr has been one of my favorite characters to GM for in a lot of ways. Because I feel like his character was one who was very easy to challenge as time went on. And I think that in a lot of ways, the story of Elements of War was the story of Jerr. Coming to terms with himself and then being able to move on.
Which is really cool how it ended as well with
Yeah.
Jer's acceptance
Sacrifice.
of being killed for the sake of others healing.
Yeah.
And I think about season 3, and there's a really poignant foreshadowing moment where Jerr literally asks, "Does this mean I can be despondent?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but think about that scene so many times during the climax of the show.
Oh,
during the last few moments of the episode. All you other people are fun to GM for too, but
Yeah, he
but
just
like,
enjoyed torturing me for season 1.
Oh.
well, yeah, season 1 was
Season 1 was rough on Chime. It
Yeah.
was so rough on Chime.
I think it was rough on a lot of people. It was rough on Julian a little bit too.
Yeah.
yeah,
Because that was one of Julian's main
Main
Things.
goal was to find his daughter.
was to find his daughter, and like
And then
within
she
the
gets
first
killed.
half of the season, nope.
Yeah.
See, the whole goal when playing a character with Jordan as the GM is no connections. One of Sam's goals was to kill off all of my old connections. You know what I didn't get to do? Kill off anybody else. Because Jordan...
no, you killed off your old CO.
Yes.
Well, no, Archie did.
The old CO got killed off.
But so, if you have no connections, there's nobody for Jordan to kill off or make you kill off. So that's my secret.
So why do you think I'm changing
Remember what
things
happened
up?
to Grayson and Angel's Guard? I was like, his parents died. He has no family, and the family that he has is actually not his family. So Jordan was like, "We're going to create family for you, and then kill him."
That's true. He did do that.
Yeah.
He definitely did that.
Yeah.
So they
So
had to create a throwaway character from the kill.
Not gonna lie, I really enjoyed playing the kaiju for the first
Oh,
episode.
yeah.
That was cool.
That was fun.
the kaiju was a fun element that was brought into the entire show because my dog ran across the room where we were playing with a squeaky ball in her mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I made it a one-off line, and it really became a defining thing.
Yeah.
Work with what you're given.
But yeah, I was saying to Jordan before we started recording, it's always, and even Jordan said, it's hard to pick like a favorite character.
Yeah.
It's hard to pick a favorite, even story that we have done. But like I was saying to Jordan before we started recording, I don't think we have created such rich characters as we have for Elements of War. Like the depth of struggle and dynamics within
and
each
growth
of these characters have been like far surpassed. I think definitely Terra Proximus and Angel's Guard. I mean, there's some complexity to that, but I mean, these characters, and I think it's the nature of the story as well.
It also helps that we went on longer than just 2 seasons.
It does. It does.
We had 4 seasons worth of
Growth.
But I think even if we had stopped at 2 seasons, like we did 2 seasons of Terra Proximus, we did 2 seasons of Angel's Guard, I think still at the end of the second season there was more potential with these characters for depth and the richness of these characters that there were with the other previous characters.
I think this was a much more character-driven story than either of those two, because I wanted Terra Proximus. It was a science fiction story, so there's a little bit of a genre difference
It
there.
was definitely a pulp science fiction.
Very pulp science fiction, and also very horror-driven.
Yes.
I was learning my chops as a GM.
Sci-Fi Channel movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Obviously fantastic if another franchise can take it and run that story for how many seasons?
No names, but CW, call us. But that's the thing, is like, I feel like the characters that we set up for Terra Proximus were...
I loved my character in that one.
Yes. Well, aside from your character, all of the characters were either assholes, or they were...
Yeah, they were not good people.
They were not good people. They were assholes, or they were grievers who could not move beyond.
Or they were like hard, like tight military that were just like, no, this is how it is, and nothing else.
Yeah. And then Angel's Guard was my first attempt at an actual traditional fantasy campaign. I don't think it was anything like a traditional fantasy.
No, it wasn't
campaign.
traditional.
No, it wasn't traditional.
I don't think we
Thank goodness,
can do traditional. Anything.
It was fantastic, though.
Yeah,
I still love that story.
But
Yes.
it was definitely our most plot-driven story.
Yeah.
And this one was definitely our most character-driven story. I didn't even say a thing for the last half hour.
No, you
of the
didn't.
show.
Yeah.
So Jordan and
You
I
looked like you wanted to say something, but then I was like, no, I have this idea.
Jordan and I hung out the other night, and we had some drinks. And I don't know entirely how sober Jordan was, but he made a confession to me. And I think he said something along the lines of that he hasn't planned for like a year and a half for these sessions.
Yeah, I haven't.
Because we have been the ones who have been planning what we're doing. Like, we have driven it.
Well, no, Jordan he plans enough to get us out of the mess that we get into, that we put ourselves into.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not write down a single die code for this campaign. And I plan to do a little bit more behind-the-scenes work on the next campaign. But literally, I would say, how does that sound? How big is their dice pool? Okay, I'll double mine. And I shouldn't have probably admitted that on air. But I was... But for the most part, I didn't feel that I had a big need beyond Season 1 to try and pigeonhole you all into specific situations.
Mm-hmm.
At the very beginning, I had to present some sort of complication, some sort of driving story. And so it was Gaspar Neri had somebody steal something from him. Yeah. And then that had like the introduction of using different elements with each other, and then it kind of just snowballed from there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel like a lot of GMs would be brave enough to do that.
No, definitely not.
No, a lot of
That's how I
GMs
GM.
are far more meticulous in their planning. They like telling the story and then letting the characters feel that story,
Yeah.
rather than letting the characters tell and feel the story at the same time with their own ideas and reactions.
Yeah.
That's my GM style, is to just wing it.
Yeah, wing it. But here's the thing. I don't think that I was the primary winger. I think that I learned something from Inspectors very early on, because Inspectors was one of the first one-shots that we did, where it literally has number 6, the player gets to decide. Number 1, the GM gets to decide. And if there's some sort of variance in between, then there's some give and take.
Yeah, I almost said that at one point in our play this session, because you said, all right, go ahead with that, and then I'm going to add something to it. And I almost made that quote, but the GM gets to add one humorous or negative effect.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. No, and I think that game influenced my GMing style to such an extent that I can't not do it that way. Which I really feel like Aaron needs to play Inspectors at some point.
I was just about to say that.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Aaron has, and neither has Ellie at this point.
Inspectors is fun.
It is pretty fun.
Like, Inspectors is a game where it's a quick descent into madness.
Okay.
Like, you can't believe that it got so intense that quickly, kind of thing.
And you start off, you're like, oh, this is pretty... Oh, nope, it's not average.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and go around and talk about our big three. I personally have a choice for best role-playing, but
I do too.
Yep.
let's go ahead and talk about this, because I think this is kind of a moment that we've been waiting for. Let's go ahead.
Yeah.
Best role playing.
Jerr.
Definitely. Like, I said it before. It's, you did something, and then all I remember is like, and then the awesome monologue.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Between that and then even the role playing of Jerr with Unity. Like your peacefulness, the coming to grips with.
Yes, and that was
and I changed it to a much more calm, subdued version of Jerr.
Yeah.
Because he was.
And I like that because Jordan even said that it's like bonding with elementals. He read the thing from the microscope, shows a marked change in personality. When that happened, like even Chime said it, and Julian picked up on it right away, and it's like, this is not Jerr. Something is off. And that was superb role-playing. And it was done in such a way that it was more, somebody even said it, was like, you obviously know a whole lot more than you did 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I said that, yeah.
And you use that fact that, okay, Turin's elemental has been around for almost a full millennia.
Yeah.
There's all that
a long
knowledge that
time.
goes around with
Yeah.
it. So, and it was very much more knowledgeable.
I also like the part that you added when you talked to Shade about how there had been multiple times that we had met like this.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just those little things.
We've had this argument many times.
Yeah, just those little things that I'm like, oh, that's so good.
Like, this is a cycle of war that has been happening with the elementals for a long
They are
time.
literally elements of war.
Yeah. And I even made the joke, the reference to the Matrix with Neo in front of the architect, how the world has been destroyed over and over, and no one really knows it.
Yeah.
Like, this war has been a cycle with these elementals. Not even on this planet.
Yeah.
Like, on other planets.
Well, and that's what I was trying to allude to with the flashback.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I thought was good.
That gave me what I said was, we've had this argument many times.
So as soon as the floor opened for discussion, everybody unanimously voted for Jerr. So,
But,
Gee, who gets that point?
if we were doing points. But another character that I think deserves a huge round of
Archie.
applause.
Yes.
is
Ellie,
Yeah.
Ellie was fantastic.
Thank you.
especially
He
in the
did
sewer.
so,
Yeah, in the sewer.
In the
so
sewer.
many cool things.
The choice, especially how you told the story, and I already said it, of how Archie comes back from out of the darkness of the shadows to save Julian. It was like, yeah.
I loved the look on your face when Archie turned to look at Julian.
Yeah.
That was so great because Archie was fighting and was trying to get control and couldn't. And that was amazing.
And
like
I-
your portrayal was incredible.
That was,
I think somebody,
that was really
and
good.
like somebody said it, that was the first time Julian actually called anybody a friend.
Yeah.
It is.
No, it is.
Which is a
I like it. You
big
didn't call
deal.
Chime, didn't call Sam, didn't call anybody. It's just like,
Julian the Loner.
yeah, pretty much.
I think that was definitely the turning point as to why Archie considered you by the end of everything within a half hour. Where's my brother?
Yeah. Because Archie had already considered Julian a friend.
Yeah.
But that admission of friendship from Julian was like, we're brothers now.
Yeah.
This has gone beyond.
Jump into the deep end, but it was good.
It was good. Jeremy had some pretty good moments
He
tonight,
did.
too.
He did.
And I
With
liked
the sewer stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and I liked what Chime was doing with trying to figure things out, like from the city perspective and like calming the kaiju writer. There was a lot of really good stuff there.
Yeah.
I think for Sam, Aaron, you did some good subtle role playing and picking up a a lot of the small details that Julian was throwing off, especially when we met back up with Jerr. The fact that you caught, like, does Julian actually hesitate in jumping off the building? And it was like, yeah, Julian hesitates. It was like, okay. That, I think, is what made that scene so much more poignant, is the fact that everybody's standing at the top of that windowsill and no one was sure to trust anybody, but they had to jump.
Right. There's no option.
Yeah.
Or fall.
Johnny, I'm sorry. I couldn't help but think of the time we were playing Shadowrun. Johnny seems to be always the one character that decides
To do something
to
different.
not take cues of, oh, this is probably the only way we're going to survive.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and do that.
Let me unbuckle my seatbelt and run.
Well, no, in
It
Shadowrun, there was
walk out in front of the
there was a big
giant-
fire elemental that was about to torch everything, and everybody decided to run from it. Johnny was like, oh, I just walk out in front of it. I was like, oh, Johnny, come on.
got torched to a cinder.
Like this case, yeah. I know I should jump, but Chime would not just jump out a window off a skyscraper.
Chime is not a courageous person by nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even despite all you've been.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly a lot braver than he used to be, but
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
throwing himself out of a skyscraper window is not logical.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
at the end,
The
it
building
showed,
is falling.
At the end, it showed how brave he was because he decided that he should go off on his own, even despite the war zone of a city that he was in.
Well,
He should have left the city.
yeah.
Should have went to Greenhaven or something.
It didn't help that Archie and Sam went their own ways, but he could have gone with either one of them.
I could have.
But he decided to go his own way instead,
Yeah.
which showed how brave he had grown into.
Let's talk about goal advancement.
Well,
Shade.
Shade.
Shade. Shade.
And Jerr.
And Jerr.
He didn't get his Earth Elemental, but he
got
was desponded.
Yep.
Desponded and a half.
I think I completed all 3 main miracles.
Yeah.
Complete by purpose was one of them. Complete it.
Yeah.
Confront the main source of the council.
Yeah.
And protect my friends. Mostly animals, but sometimes friends.
Julian completed
Humans.
a couple of his goals too. He wanted to find and confront the void. He killed the void
Yep.
before he said anything to him.
Yep.
And he wanted to build a friendship with Sam.
Hey!
And he kind of did that.
Wow!
You did it!
Ooh,
Oh.
never forget my past. I never forgot my past.
No,
You
in
learned more
fact,
about
your
your
past became more important.
Yes, it did. Safely unbond my water elemental.
Mixed bag there, but yeah.
Mixed bag.
Alright, so we have mixed results on goals.
yeah. Let's see. Even in my redone goals, the closest I came was working alongside of Julian to use my powers in combination.
Yeah.
Let's see. I have Chime's original goals right here. Help others find their path. Yeah, you did in your own
did
way.
that.
Yeah.
You did that.
Push for peace.
You did that.
Yeah.
I pushed for it.
Save Troller
Definitely did do that.
I did. Well, at least his element.
as Archie.
Yeah.
That's
Look
Archie.
at what Julian's changed ones for season 4 were.
You want me to find it real quick?
Yeah, they're in the updated 3x3 thing that we did for season 4.
I like doing the updated ones. I think that adds for a lot of character push.
Yeah, that's why I think these characters got deeper.
Yeah.
Season
Especially
4.
because of the. I use the same one for Julian. I just kind of
Redlined it.
made updates, crossed out, highlighted.
Okay, your goals became influence a life for good every day, learn how to safely despond an elemental, and help Jerr despond his water elemental peacefully.
Well, it wasn't peaceful,
No.
but I did help.
It was peaceful.
I think
The
actually,
bonding itself was peaceful.
and also I think that Jerr was at peace, which makes a big difference.
Yes.
Find the elemental that has influenced his mother and daughter again.
Well, with the montage,
Honest-
I did that
honestly,
on my own.
Honestly, if
Still,
Jerr hadn't bonded Unity, he would not have been at peace about it.
Mm-hmm.
He would have fought to the bitter end. But because of his bonding with Unity, he gained that extra sense of calm and purpose and desire to heal.
Other goals that Julian had: learn how innates can strengthen their abilities,
Yes,
earn Sam and Shade's full trust or as close to it as possible,
yes.
honor Katari's wish and kill Katana,
Yeah.
learn about the void, and if he learns about it, ultimately stop him from pushing out human consciousness.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He learned about the void. He grabbed everything he could from the void's
That's
apartment.
true. That's true.
the Void was a sick NPC.
Mm.
And then doesn't count for anything, but let's talk about the spread.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh, we just had tons of food.
Yeah.
I think everybody was just like, this is a celebration. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. I made cranberry brie puff pastry things.
they were pretty tasty.
Yeah, they were pretty tasty.
There was 2 different kinds of Cheese balls.
There was a bacon cheddar ranch cheese ball, which was quite delightful.
Fantastic.
Cheesecake cheese ball.
Which is quite yummy.
There was an absolutely delicious garlic, shrimp, bacon, and smoked Gouda pizza.
And it was Gouda.
It was so Gouda.
I loved the dough on that one. Like the crust was incredible.
Yeah, everything homemade, of course, because except the shrimp and the bacon were homemade. We had butakis, and we had Sour Patch Kids.
And
chocolate chip
cookies. Which
and mini tacos with queso.
Queso, that was good.
And steak.
And some gumbo.
And whiskey.
Yes, and whiskey.
And
we didn't get to the meatballs.
No, we did not.
There were meatballs?
Yeah, I brought Swedish meatballs. Oh! I just never got it. I forgot to stick them into the oven.
Oh. So, if I were voting for food, it would have been the bacon cheddar ranch cheese ball. That thing was absolutely amazing.
That made its way.
Was amazing.
Honestly, I'd have to go for the steak.
Steak was pretty good too.
Yeah,
I would have to vote for the pizza.
I'm voting for the pizza.
The pizza was bomb.
Pizza was very good. However, I had to force myself to stop eating the cheese ball.
Same. Same.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yes. Yesterday, Aaron texted. I'll say, "So y'all wouldn't mind if I didn't have a snack, right? Because I'm going to eat it all."
It was pretty good.
All right, folks. I can't believe that it's time to wrap this up, but it is.
Hush your mouth.
Yeah, it's kind of hard because in a lot of ways, an RPG campaign is sitting in a very particular moment.
Yes.
In a sustained manner, and closing off that moment is something that I think is rarely done, and it is rarely done well. Not to pat myself on the back too much, and not to pat you all on the back too much, but for who we are and what kind of game we run, this was an A+ ending.
This ending was fantastic.
These last four,
even with being sad
episodes,
ending, it was still like the perfect ending.
Yeah.
Like the tension was high, the action was high, the drama was high, and the emotions just poured out.
Yeah. It was wholesome friendship.
Wholesome, pre-programmed friendship.
One of the campaigns I recently backed for a Kickstarter is called Feelings Felt in Friendship. You play as Muppets, and your actions are things like hug it out, loan a dice, and you go on an adventure together.
Nice!
We will be playing that.
I want to do that. That sounds like so much fun.
Figured even we can't make that one dark.
Watch us.
You'd be surprised.
If we don't make it dark, it just be slapstick.
Oh,
yeah, is what it
truly
turns to.
slapstick.
Which I don't know when it's going to be, but Raccoon Sky Pirates.
Yeah,
that wasn't dark, but that was totally slapstick nonstop.
I'm sad that I missed that one. But
That was fun.
I'm sad you missed that one too.
Yeah, that one
I was very out of it that day.
That's probably the most light thing we've ever done.
It was a blast.
And it was so much fun.
That and the
Cosmic Patrol.
Cosmic Patrol.
No,
it had dark moments.
It had some dark
It had
moments.
some very dark moments.
Not very dark moments, but it had some serious, intense moments.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
all the
It had
intense moments in Raccoon Sky Pirates were just comedy.
yes.
It was like raccoons are doing this.
You set off the Alexa.
Oh yeah, when we set off the house robot by accident, with who let the dogs out,
and it actually started. Yes. Good times.
We're gonna have to play that one again. Anyway,
Friendship.
That is something though. The sustained nature of a campaign only becomes more salient once you close off a campaign and you realize the difference between this and a one shot.
Oh yeah.
You know, one shot is like, oh yeah, that was fun. We had a good time as raccoons on a blimp. But this is like, wow, we lived with these characters since 2018, 2019, something like that.
Yeah, we started this before I even bought this house.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I've almost had 2 babies in this time.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just saying that we've done this for so long that we've seen so many life changes. Babies, houses purchased. I purchased a house.
Mm-hmm.
I moved to Kentucky.
You moved.
Job changes.
How dare you?
I have facial hair.
Promotion. Yeah. I think this is the first time I've seen you with actual facial hair.
I've seen him with it before.
All right, folks. It's time to end. Thank you so much for listening to Bone Throwers Theater, Elements of War, one final time.
Thank you for listening to Bone Throwers Theater. Our cast is Aaron, Ellie, Jeff, Jeremy, Johnny, and Jordan. We are releasing this podcast under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 3.0 Unported license. That means you can share the podcast, but please do not modify it or try to gain financially from it. If you would like to visit our website, you can do so at bonethrowerstheater.com. If you would like to send us an email, you can do so at bonethrowerstheater@gmail.com. Our Twitter handle is bonethrowerstheater. You can also look us up on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And until next time, may the bones fall ever in your favor. This has been a Nerd Circle podcast production.